Chapter 82. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A few days later, Qingyun and others are already on their way to the Shampoo Islands. The journey is always boring. But, until Nami bought today's Newsbird News newspaper. Result. Qingyun, you are being rewarded by the world government. Nami opened the newspaper and saw the reward order inside. After briefly flipping through a few pages, she finally paused on one of the reward orders. She looked at the portrait on the reward order, and then looked at it again. Qingyun, after being silent for a while, she said to Qingyun. What? This news undoubtedly surprised the people on the ship. Yuta, Weiwei and Robin also walked over and looked at the reward order in Nami's hand. The handsome face on the reward order was undoubtedly Qingyun. After all, he was so handsome. If you recognize this, if they don't come out, they are blind. Let me take a look. Qingyun just came over at this time and took his reward order to look at it. Among these people, he was the least surprised that this kind of thing happened, because he was indeed the one who beat CP9, and he also killed a member of CP9. This behavior was undoubtedly a provocation to the world government, and the leader of CP9 was Spandam. That shameless guy, after adding fuel and jealousy, he added the deeds were reported to the 5 old stars. In addition, he also protected Nico Robin, who was a hidden danger to the world government. So, the 5 old stars knew the reason. 80% of them would directly put a reward on him. That's why he wasn't surprised that he was really being rewarded, because all of this was within his expectation. The big pirate Qingyun has a bounty of 180 million Baileys. No matter life or death, good guy, I have some thoughts about exchanging myself for the bounty. Qingyun couldn't help laughing after reading the bounty order. The world government directly slapped him with a hat. He turned from a bounty hunter in 07 directly into a pirate. This has to be said, the world government's tyranny has always been like this. Captain, I'm sorry, this is all because of me. Robin feels some guilt. Stop talking, it's just the world government, it's nothing. If I don't provoke him, it's fine. If he dares to provoke me, then he wants to die. I don't mind giving them a ride. Qingyun didn't care about this reward order at all. He didn't take the initiative to become a pirate. Instead, he was forcibly added to the identity of a big pirate by the world government, which undoubtedly made him very unhappy. The other party asked him to unhappy, then, he asked the other party to express his condolences. As for Robin. No. He didn't regret at all that he protected Robin and beat or even killed a CP9 member. Don't. It is said that he was motivated by sex. He was very clear about the reason why Robin himself was put on a bounty. It can be said that 0.99% of the pirates in this sea are not innocent, but there are always so a handful of pirates are innocent. Perhaps they don't know why, but they were suddenly labeled as pirates by people from the world government or the navy, and were forced to become pirates helplessly. They are typical among them. It was the Robin in front of him. O'Hara's historian was seeking his own death and constantly teasing Tigerbeard, so their deaths were not innocent at all. But Robin was innocent. She could only read. He just understood the text of history, so in order to eliminate the root cause and avoid future troubles, the world government placed a bounty on Nico Robin, who was only 8 years old at the time. Therefore, he protected a person who was innocent, and he did not feel that he had done anything wrong. What, unless, he went to protect the pirates who massacred the village? In that case, it was the real mistake. At this time, Qingyun also suddenly remembered the pile of pirate corpses stored in his personal space. Oh no, the bounty worth billions of Baileys has not yet been redeemed, but now it has been offered a bounty by the world government. Even if we bring the corpses of these pirates to redeem them, the other party will not give us the bounty. Qingyun was a little annoyed. If he had known that when he was talking to Tina at that time, even if the other party didn't bring enough money, he would still have to give the other party the corpses of the pirates to exchange the bounty. How much is it? It's fine now, I want to redeem it, but I can't even do it 80% of the time. What? Hearing this, the first person to change her face was Nami. With her persistence in money, she directly lost billions of Baileys. It was like stabbing her in the heart several times. It was so uncomfortable that she couldn't breathe. Her expression was as if the sky had fallen. Nami, don't do this. Yuta also consoled her, although a large part of these billions of Baileys was originally used by her to rebuild Ayurgia, but now it seems that the money to rebuild Ayurgia is gone. Although her performance is not like Nami, she is still a little uncomfortable. On the side, Robin looks at the two of them. She is also extremely guilty, and here, the only one who doesn't feel anything big, that person, that is Weiwei. After all, she is a princess herself. Although the kingdom of Alabasta is not that rich, even if a princess of a country checks again, she still lives a life of fine clothing and fine food. Besides, now, her life is also she was living a good life, so she didn't have any big gap because of this incident. Nami, don't worry, I will let them cancel the reward on me. I don't want to be a pirate. If they are unwilling to withdraw the reward, I will force them to withdraw the reward. Qingyun said calmly, it's just a bounty. To him, it's not a big deal at all. It's not something that won't happen if the bounty is revoked, whether it's the crew of the Roger Pirates, Pluto Rayleigh, and in Crocus at Twin Capes, they all have a peaceful life because the world government has cancelled the bounty on them. Otherwise, a ship's doctor of the Roger Pirates can still return to the Roger Pirates. After the bandit group was disbanded, he worked as a lighthouse keeper here in Twin Capes for several years without any problems. The world government still doesn't know about this. That is impossible. It can only be said that the world government no longer cares about this group of people. Unless if they want to make trouble, or cause some big waves in this sea, the world government will not mind digging out their old accounts at any time and continue to cause trouble for these people. Therefore, the bounty order has been cancelled. It may still be very big. The premise is that you have to be powerful enough to make the world government feel afraid, and you also show the attitude that I don't want to go against the world government, I just want to live a peaceful life, but this kind of thing is often real. Too few people can do it. First of all, you have to have enough strength, the strength that can make the world's governments fear it. At least you need to start at the imperial level, and in this sea, the population is the unit is measured in billions, but the number of emperor-level experts born is really pitiful. To read Baoshuang novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Therefore, this first step is extremely difficult. Unfortunately, Qingyun already has 4 emperors here. If the 4 emperors are not enough to make the world government afraid, then it is pure nonsense. So, cancelling the bounty, he also needs to plan, but this he was already very certain about this kind of thing in his mind. After comforting Nami, who had lost a huge sum of money, the other party's mentality of the sky was falling also recovered. The ship continued to sail on this sea. Until after sailing for a while, as a result, they encountered a wooden barrel floating on the sea with a flag on it. Seeing this thing, Qingyun also immediately drove the ship over and took this thing, fished it up. Yuta, the weapons I was going to find for you are coming soon. He also patted the barrel and said, this is filled with drinks. Nami said, how could she not recognize this thing? In front of the Poseidon royal treasure. These words are written on the flag. It means that this is a tribute to the Poseidon. If it can be packed in a wooden barrel, it is probably wine. No. This is what Moonglow Moria, one of the king's Shichibukai, uses for fishing. This wooden barrel contains a signal bomb. As long as the barrel is opened, the signal bomb will fly out directly, causing Moonglow Moria's terrifying 3-masted. The sailboat came towards us and captured our ship. As long as you are arrested, you will be caught in a trap. Qingyun explained the origin of this thing. King Shichibukai. It's better to throw it away and go find the king of Shichibukai if you have nothing to do, and there is no bounty to get it, so you might as well go to the Chambord Islands first. Hearing this, Nami immediately lost interest. The bounty for the Shichibukai has stopped, and there is no bounty for killing him. What's more, Qingyun is currently being rewarded by the world government, so, Nami said she didn't want to do such a time-consuming and labor-intensive thing. In order to create zombies, Moonlight Moria stole the body of Shigezuki Ryoma from Wano country, along with his sword Shusui. Now it is on his ship. This national treasure of Wano country, just right for Yuta. Qingyun said, Black Dao Chioshui, one of the 21 skills of the Great Kwai Dao, is already a very good weapon. Compared with the good Kwai Dao he gave to Wuda, there is no doubt that Black Dao Chioshui is much more powerful. He has been eyeing Moonlight Moria for a long time. Now, after catching him, can he let him go? At least he has to get the black sword Chiu Shui before leaving. That's it, let's go there. It's about Yuta, Nami also agreed. After all, Moonlight Moria is one of the 7 martial seas under the king, and there should be a lot of treasures on the ship. Qingyun just reminded me a little bit. Get out of the way, get out of the way. It's a waste of time to do something. If Moonlight Moria runs away, how can you be responsible? Nami immediately took action, opened the barrel, and the signal flew into the sky, and then exploded in the sky. In the sky, there was a dazzling red light. On the side, Yuta, Wei Wei, Robin, Qingyun. They were silent about Nami's sudden change of attitude, but this is Nami, she is so persistent about money. Every 407 people have their own characteristics, such characteristics, not a bad thing, at least, Qingyun still likes Nami like this very much. Can we just wait here for a while? Nami turned to look at Qingyun and asked. Moonlight Moria's ships will definitely come after seeing this signal. We can just wait here for them to come. Qingyun looked at Nami, who seemed to have the urge to find Moonlight Moria's ship. He also quickly explained something to prevent the other party from doing some irrational behavior. Hearing this, Robin and others also he went to do his own thing. Qingyun also began to continue synthesizing weapons. As for the ability crystal, he had already completed it in the past few days. It did not consume much of his physical strength at all. He and Nami spent the night together. Wei Wei and the others played poker for several hours, so, there was no impact at all. Now, he is synthesizing the weapons. The synthesis has reached the stage of sharp knives. Soon after, Qingyun's synthesis is also completed. This time in the harvest in the capital of 7 waters allowed him to successfully harvest 4 good and quick knives. He also took out all 4 synthesized good and quick knives, buzzing. On his waist, the 3rd generation of Kitetsu couldn't help but made a little noise to remind Qingyun. Don't be anxious, you've been waiting for this for a long time, now let's improve you. Qingyun's purpose of taking out these 4 good and quick knives is to improve the 3rd generation of ghosts. Therefore, he also synthesized several other good and fast knives based on the 3rd generation of ghosts. The 5 good and fast knives are also very fast. It became the nourishment of the 3rd generation of ghosts and increased the strength of the 3rd generation of ghosts. At present, after the improvement of the 3rd generation of ghosts is completed, according to the text data of Goldfinger, it has become like this. Ryo Kwai Sword 3rd generation Ghost Tetsu, 5/10, after repeated promotions. It has broken through all the original grades and entered the level of Ryo Kwai Sword. It belongs to the demon sword and has an unknown curse. If the 3rd generation ghost cannot be made if Toru surrenders, there is a high possibility that he will die under this curse. Now 3 generations of Ghost Toru have surrendered to the host. Thanks for the 1000 VIP support of Yuyu. Thank you very much. This is just a temporary label of being a pirate by the world government. It is part of the plot. Don't worry, the protagonist will not become a pirate. He is still a bounty hunter. Please continue reading and you will find out. Thank you all. The handsome boys and girls have been subscribing so that the author can keep writing. Thank you very much. Chapter 83. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Now, the 3rd generation of Gite only needs 5 more good swords to be promoted from the level of good swords to the level of great swords, and when he was spending his energy on weapon synthesis. Sky, it seems to be getting dark. Does it get dark so early? Wei Wei looked up and couldn't help but feel a little confused. It shouldn't be. Judging from the time, it's only around 3 in the afternoon. How could it get dark so early? Robin looked at the time and said. We have entered the terrifying bark of Moonlight Moria. Qingyun took a look and said directly, after all, they all turned on the flares to attract Moonlight Moria, and then there was such a strange phenomenon of sudden darkness. If it hadn't entered Moonlight Moria's among the terrifying 3-masted sailing ship, that is strange. Hearing this. So what are you waiting for? Hurry up and set off. Nami's eyes lit up instantly. All the horror, weirdness, and gloominess were all forgotten by her. Now, what she cares about is Moonlight Moria, who is on the ship of the king's Shichibukai. How much treasure. When the others saw this, they also laughed dumbly, but they all knew Nami, and the other party's character was like this. Get ready. Then, Qingyun and others also controlled the ship and docked. He also put his the ship was taken back into the portable space. What are you waiting for? Why don't you set off quickly? Nami looked at Qingyun, who had not yet taken action, and asked in confusion. It's better to say hello to the other person first. Qingyun shook his head and said, then, his pupils shrank suddenly, boom. A shocking and overbearing aura rushed straight into the sky, and swept the entire terrifying three-masted sailing ship in the blink of an eye. Everywhere, as long as the creatures on the terrifying three-masted sailing ship were impacted by this overlord color domineering energy. What followed was the terrifying three-masted sailing ship. They could not withstand this overpowering color. The people who were swept away by the domineering power fell down one after another. In this terrifying three-masted castle, a man who looked like an onion suddenly woke up. In that overbearing power, under the impact of the domineering lust, he did not faint. However, his face did not look too good. This is domineering and domineering. Mariah's face was very ugly, and he was not known to be a domineering king, but he knew it very well. After all, he was the warrior who challenged Kaido. The result was of course self-evident. He was beaten into a dog by Kaido, at the same time, lost all his companions. As a result, he began to become depressed, and he was still exercising, and began to try to borrow foreign objects. As a result, his strength continued to decline, all the way down to, now he can't even display his domineering power. He can be said to be a fellow sufferer like Crocodile. One challenged Whitebeard, and he himself challenged Kaido. Until now, he can be regarded as challenging the Yonko. They became fierce. The result was that both of them had their pride broken, their spirits were depressed, and their domineering strength had declined. They even began to borrow foreign objects. One wanted to find Pluto, but the other started to do it. Zombie, it can only be said that if the two of them get together and are willing to chat, they may become close friends. There is no telling, but what he cares more about now is this overlord that is sweeping over him. Color hockey, compared with when he challenged Kaido more than 20 years ago, the opponent had not fully grown up. Compared with the original Kaido, this overlord color hockey was obviously much more powerful. It's not the same level at all. Therefore, he knew immediately, on his terrifying three-masted sailboat, there was an incredible guy. He shouted a few times, but no one responded. Moria also knew it immediately. Under this powerful overlord-like domineering energy, 99% of his men should have been lying down. Seeing this, he could only deal with the enemy himself. After all, the opponent gave him a blow when they came. It means that the person coming from the other side is not good. He is probably an enemy. This way, after Qingyun released a wave of overlord color domineering energy, I feel comfortable too. Let's go, let's go. Qingyun said as he also opened his legs and walked towards the center of the terrifying three-masted sailboat, followed closely by Nami and others. This terrifying three-masted sailboat can be said to be the largest ship Qingyun has ever seen. However, correspondingly, this place is also eerie enough. In order to create an environment for zombies to survive smoothly, Mariah also worked hard, along the way. Qingyun did not encounter anything, because, what he encountered the gadgets are all lying on the ground in a coma. When faced with the overlord's domineering energy, the weaker the person, the faster they are knocked unconscious by the overlord's domineering energy. Likewise, the coma lasts longer. And the stronger the person, the more powerful they are. Strong people, some can bear it, but it will be uncomfortable at most, and some people can't bear it, but the duration of coma will be shorter. Therefore, the power of the overlord color hockey to impact the target will also affect the power of the overlord color hockey after it is displayed. This effect, for Qingyun, there is naturally nothing to say. Anyway, to him, they are all a bunch of weaklings. And here, after walking for a long distance, we approached the castle and arrived at the center position. It almost took them almost half an hour. After all, they could be said to be walking leisurely, chatting at times along the way. It was normal for the speed to be slower. However, Qingyun was. He suddenly stopped. His brows furrowed. I hate scum like you the most. He suddenly spoke. On the side, Nami and others' faces were full of confusion. They didn't understand why Qingyun suddenly spoke dirty words. However, they believed that Qingyun definitely didn't say this for no reason. There must be a reason in his heart. There was a ring. Qingyun's figure disappeared from the place, and the next moment, it appeared not far ahead. Nami and others saw Qingyun reaching for the air, as if he had caught something. And then pressed it heavily on the ground. Boom. With a loud noise, the ground was dented directly by Qingyun's heavy hit. The earth was like a broken mirror, and thick dust was also kicked up. On the first floor, for a moment. To read Baoshuang novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. The dust dispersed. On the ground next to where Qingyun was standing, a figure was lying with his eyes rolled. It can be seen that Qingyun had just caught a person in the seemingly empty air. A scum like you actually possesses a Superman-type transparent fruit, and you are trying to attack my woman. You are simply asking for your own death. Qingyun's eyes showed unabashed murderous intention towards Absalom. If there are a few people who must die in the world of pirates, it would be Momonosuke who must die, and the one at his feet. Guy Absalom. Transparent fruit. There really are such fruits in the world. Nami widened her eyes and said in surprise. However, whether it was Nami, Vivi, Yuta, or Robin, each of them looked at Absalom with very unkind eyes. If Qingyun didn't take action just now, then they might have been attacked by evil hands, and Qingyun, a domineering aura directly wrapped around his feet. He raised his feet. The next moment, it fell heavily on Absalom's head. Boom. There was another loud noise, as if this terrifying three-masted sailing ship shook violently under Qingyun's kick. There is no doubt, in the Qingyun Company overlord color when the domineering winding was used. With this kick, the opponent's head exploded like a watermelon. The dead person could not die again. Likewise, after killing the opponent, the words gold finger also appeared. Pickable items detected. Do you want to pick them up? Pick up. Ding. Successfully picked up 5 perfect body crystals, 2 perfect soul crystals, 3 perfect talent crystals, 3 perfect physical skills crystals, and 1 legendary superhuman transparent fruit crystal. They have been stored in the portable space. After killing Absalom, he also gained some ability crystals in a small way. Absalom. Moonlight Moria suddenly appeared at this time. After all, there was such a big movement. If he couldn't determine the enemy's position, then he would be a fool, but with his arrival, he saw Qingyun's feet. The one on the side is already headless body. His anger also emerged immediately. He was depressed because all his companions were killed by Kaido. As a result, this time someone came to his terrifying three-masted sailboat and actually killed his companions on his boat. How can this make him not angry? Hey, Moonlight Moria, you finally appeared. Qingyun also greeted the other party. You bastard, you killed my crew and you still talk to me like this as if nothing happened. Molia said angrily. You just killed a scumbag, why are you so angry? Qingyun said nonchalantly. The number of pirates who died in his hands was at least 10,000. He just killed a scumbag who tried to attack his woman. Of course, he had no need to care. Damn it, what did you think of my crew? Molia's eyes widened. If eyes could kill, Qingyun would have died countless times. I'm not that murderous either. Moonlight Moria, now I give you 2 choices. Take the initiative to hand over all the money and treasures on your ship. I can spare your life. The second choice is that you can resist, but I will kill you later. This onion. Qingyun said directly. Upon hearing this, Moria's face changed drastically. You bastard, hateful little brat, who do you think is Onion? This guy actually gave him a nickname. Especially since this nickname was based on his own image, he couldn't bear it. Every word he said was irritating his nerves. Do you dare to say that you don't look like an onion? Qingyun glanced at the other party and said. When he heard this, Moria blushed. Damn it, you are riding a horse and saying that you are no longer a human being, right? Xiao Daoying. He directly turned the shadow into a spear. He launched an attack towards Qingyun. However, Qingyun swung his sword casually. The amazing slash of the sword directly engulfed Moria's attack. including Moria. With this slash, it was directly the one who was slashed was sent flying hundreds of meters. These days, how come my opponents are all guys, nollies, who were interrupted by the 4 emperors and whose strength has deteriorated to this level? Qingyun also said helplessly. It seemed as if he liked to beat some defeated generals of the 4 emperors. As far as the strength of the other party was concerned, at most he was at the level of a major general, at most, he was only close to a lieutenant general. Therefore, Qingyun was also very ineffective in dealing with the opponent, ta-da-da. He took a step forward and walked towards Moria. Since you don't listen, I'll send you on your way. Qingyun lifted up Sandai Gite and was about to chop him down with his sword. Stop, you are not allowed to attack Lord Moria. As this sound sounded, immediately afterwards, several more translucent ghosts flew towards him. Seeing this, Qingyun quickly turned the tip of the knife. The Overlord's domineering energy also wrapped around the blade of the 3rd-generation ghost. Above, wow! In an instant, the ghost that was rushing towards him was cut in half by him. Little sister, sneak attack is not a good behavior. Qingyun glanced at Perona floating in the air and said. Don't even think about harming the hostage of Moria. Perona saw that Moria, whom she loved like her father, was injured like this by the other party. She even saw that the other party was preparing to attack Moria. This made her extremely angry and attacked Qingyun. The extra-large ghost kamikaze bomb. An extra-large ghost was also created by her ability. Boring. After Qingyun glanced at it, he swung his knife casually. The special ghost created by the other party was also cut in half by him. Thank you Wio for your 1000 VIP support. Thank you very much. Chapter 84. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Subsequently, Qingyun's figure instantly appeared next to Perona, and the knife was already placed directly on the opponent's neck. Do you know the price of attacking me? But he will die. His words also made Perona scared. After all, there are only a handful of people who can face death without fear and choose to die generously. At least, this young man who is only 23 years old. Little girl, I don't have the courage yet. Who told you to hurt Lord Moria? But she still gritted her teeth and said, she was picked up and raised by Mariah since she was a child. Mariah was like a father to her. When she saw the scene where Mariah was about to be killed by Qingyun, how could she just watch and sit idly by? I have given him a way to survive, but if he insists on taking action against me, then I will just send him on his way. Qingyun said. But so are you. Then Qingyun's words frightened Perona so much that her teeth trembled, but what she didn't know was that, Qingyun rarely attacks innocent people who have no reward at all, although, he doesn't know much about Perona. Not much, but he still knows some information. He was picked up and raised by Moria when he was a child, and he was cared for like a daughter by Moria. As for the bounty order, there are basically no bounties for members of the Moria pirates. It's not that they are all good people. It's just that Moria has kept a low profile since experiencing Kaido's incident. That's exactly what happened. Moria then began to create zombies under the guise of foreign objects. Later he became the king of the 7 warlords. Therefore, a good person who has hidden himself has basically not carried any bounties at all until now. But since Perona has followed Mariah since she was a child and was raised by Mariah, then I am afraid that the other party will not be offered a bounty because Mariah is one of the king's Shichibukai. However, before Mariah became one of the king's Shichibukai, he followed Mariah for a long time. However, still not selected, that can only be said, the other party is either hidden too well, or the other party is simply a person who has never done any bad things like killing people. Because of this, Qingyun has some hesitation, the person he killed, or he is a pirate with serious crimes, or he is someone who is trying to attack his comrades, when he was in the capital of 7 waters. If the people of CP-9309 didn't want to capture Robin, he wouldn't directly kill a member of CP-9. Come on, the last operation was to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. It can only be said that the opponent hit the muzzle of his gun, but now, Perona made him a little entangled, whether to kill the opponent or not, and at this moment. Stop. Moria stood up with difficulty. There was an obvious knife mark on his chest and blood was gurgling from his wound. it can be seen that Moria at this moment is in a state of serious injury. He is an emperor. Isn't it normal to chop down Moonlight Moria, one of the 7 warlords under the king, whose strength has declined to Major General, and is at most close to Lieutenant General? If even Moonlight Moria can't be seriously injured with one knife, then what's wrong with him? Strength is just a joke. How? Do you regret having done something with me? Moria. Qingyun looked at Mariah and said. Let Perona go. I am willing to give you all the treasures on the ship, including my life. Molia gritted her teeth and said this sentence with difficulty. So generous. Upon hearing this, Qingyun was also surprised by what the other party said. It doesn't matter to Qingyun that he doesn't want money or treasures. After all, his life is almost gone, but, even if he doesn't want his own life, he must save Perona's. This kind of behavior is a bit too exaggerated. Obviously he underestimated Perona's status in Moria. Think about it. Perona was picked up by Moria since she was a child. However, today's Perona Lorna is a user with the spirit fruit ability. It is self-evident where the other party's devil fruit comes from. She is willing to drop a devil fruit directly on Perona's body. This is to say that she does not regard Perona as her own. It would be weird if he raised his own daughter. Qingyun agreed to the other party's request without hesitation. But I still need one more thing, Black Blade Choshue. He continued to make his request. Moria can order the zombies under his hands. Instead of going around to find the location of the zombie dragon and horse, it is easier and simpler for Moria, Iba, to directly order the other party to come over. Much more. Good. Molia agreed to Qingyun's request without hesitation. He had already recognized the reality. The opponent was not an enemy he could fight against at all. He was severely injured in one move. Even if he struggled again, how many more moves could he make? At most, his life would be gone with 2 or 3 blows, so the struggle seemed to be meaningless. It was also the same. He gave up the struggle and agreed to the other party's request. Until now, he could only strive to save himself. Perona, who regarded him as his own daughter, was saved. Later, he also used his fruit power to give orders to the zombies, taking all the money and treasures, and at the same time, he asked the zombie Ryoma to come over and take the black sword Choshue from the opponent. Take it. After all, this is Qingyun's condition. In order to keep Perona, he also took great pains. However, this kind of behavior may be worth it in his heart. Soon, everything will be ready for Moria. Although he has invested a lot of money in his zombie army, he still has a lot of money and treasures in his hands. They are all piled together into a small mountain. At a glance, if this is exchanged for shells, if it's profitable, it would be several hundred million at least. Uta, go on. Qingyun threw the black sword Choshue to Wu Ta. This knife is more suitable for her to use. The 21 skills of the fast knife, it can be regarded as the best among knives, second only to the 12 skills of the supreme fast knife. However, buzz. The 3rd generation ghost in his hand screamed. It seemed to be saying, feed the black sword autumn water to it as a material. In this way, it can also greatly improve its own level. Seeing this, Qingyun, I don't even bother to talk to the 3rd generation Kitetsu. This guy wants to eat anything he sees that can improve him. Everything is here. I hope you can keep your promise. Molia leaned against the wall and said. Of course, I am a man of my word. Qingyun smiled, and immediately stretched out his hand to put all the money and jewelry into his portable space. You are not allowed to harm Lord Moria. Although Perona was scared, she still stood in front of Moria and tried to stop Qingyun. It was useless, but... Okay, alright. Seeing this, Qingyun also smiled. He suddenly appeared next to Perona, picked up the other person with one hand, and carried her on his shoulders. Since you want to protect Mariah so much, I will take you away, and you will be a maid on my ship from now on. In this way, I will let Mariah live. Qingyun also put away the 3rd generation ghost, and then slapped Perona on the buttocks, who was trying to struggle on his shoulder. There was a crisp sound. This made Perona feel ashamed and angry. However, she also heard Qingyun. That's what I said. To read exciting novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Being a maid can save Lord Moria's life. If this is the case, she will undoubtedly give up the struggle. Perona. Moria's eyes widened, struggled to get up, and shouted, "Damn it. This damn man actually took away Perona, whom he regarded as his own daughter. Moria, I will take your crew member away. Remember to become stronger before you come to trouble me." Qingyun also carried Perona and left directly with Nami and others. The money had been obtained. He also brought back a maid. As for Moria, he didn't care about the other party very much. Killing the other party would only kill more than himself. A devil fruit ability crystal. As for other things, at most 1 or 2 legendary grade ability crystals. To say that the effect is great, if it is before he has grown up, the effect is quite great. When he doesn't have enough ability crystals, he will definitely draw his sword and chop Moria directly. Even if Perona dares to stop him, he will chop the opponent together. But now, let alone the legendary ability crystals, his epic, there are still many levels of ability crystals. For example, epic physique crystals *2, epic soul crystals *1, epic talent crystals *8, epic physical arts crystals *3, epic swordsmanship crystals *2, therefore. It's just more than one Moria, it's just that there are a few legendary level ability crystals missing. However, he now has a lot of ways to earn ability crystals. After all, he was handed a bounty order by the world government. He put the hat of a pirate on his head. The other party had already done this, how could he not return the favor? He didn't want to have this hat of a pirate stuck on his head all the time, so he already had a compulsion. He forced the old guys from the 5 old stars to cancel his bounty plan, and in the process, there would definitely be no shortage of ability crystals. So, he let Moria go. However, along the way, Na Mei and others looked at him strangely. "Let you turn another one back," Nami said. "Qingyun, it's not good to be too greedy," Wei Wei also said. "Qingyun, you'd better exercise some restraint," Yuta said. "Is this a man's instinct at work?" Robin also looked at Qingyun with a smile and said. He struck 4 times in a row. Qingyun fell silent for a while, then, he straightened his back. "The waist is good and the kidneys are good, isn't it?" Qingyun said confidently. "Anyway, he has nothing to fear. In this sea, let alone 3 wives and 4 concubines, some kings have dozens or even hundreds of harems. Therefore, he feels that he does not need to sorry. After all, he just took down Nami and Vivi. As for Yuta, he is about to succeed in the strategy. Robin is already showing signs of success. He is on the ship. There are only 4 women in total. If he is called lustful, then what should the kings, nobles, and the celestial dragons of this world be called?" Seeing this, Nami and others also curled their lips, but they did not continue to say anything about this matter. After all, they knew very well that Qingyun, no matter how well they are treated, just those ability crystals, if the other party is willing to take them out, I don't know how many women will go crazy and stick to Qingyun. Therefore, they can only say a few words. What do they really want to complain about? That is impossible. Arrive at the port location. Qingyun also took out his ship from the portable space. Several people boarded the ship. Get ready to leave here. There is no way the door of the terrifying 3-masted sailing ship can block the progress of Qingyun and others. He passed with a knife. The door of this terrifying 3-masted ship was simply gone. This time, it can be said that it is unimpeded. After leaving the terrifying bark, Qingyun and others also headed towards the Shampoo Islands. As for someone who was snatched directly, there is no place for a young lady here. If you say you are captured and used as a maid, then you are a maid. Then, for Perona, who was supported by Moria as her biological daughter, it can be said that she has entered a gloomy moment in her life. After all, she had never done any of these things. The top level is to make tea and water, the middle level is to do laundry and cooking, and the bottom level is to clean. It can be said that Perona worked hard. But no one spoiled her. She wanted to cry and go on strike, but as the group said, "If you don't want to do these things, I can let you go." I went back and killed Moria. After saying this, Perona immediately held back her tears and started doing it silently. Then, the image of Qingyun in her eyes also turned into a devil. A few days later, Qingyun and others also arrived at the Shampoo Islands. After setting foot on this place, I heard that the celestial dragons often come to the Shampoo Islands. Anyway, the world government directly labeled me as a big pirate. Otherwise, it would be nice to kill two big pirates. He also has the idea of the world's nobles in his heart. Thank you Zueming Xinghe for your monthly ticket support. Thank you very much. Chapter 85. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was originally within his plan to kill one or two Tianlong people and increase his presence. Now people have arrived, the key is whether the celestial dragons come to the Chambord Islands or not. If not come, he has no way to start, so he and Nami and others went to investigate the situation. The Chambord Islands are mainly divided into several areas. Of course, what he mainly remembers is number 1 to 29. These areas are the illegal areas of the Chambord Islands, and auction houses or human trafficking are all in these areas. It's done locally. To put it simply, no one cares about this place. If the celestial dragons want to come to the Shampoo Islands, the 80% probability is to go to an illegal area, and they usually go to the auction house to buy some rare slaves, or buy some items they think are worth collecting, or they go to a human trafficking shop and buy some things they see. The slave on dash, Qingyun put away the boat. I also went directly nearby, asked passers-by, and then bought a map of the Chambord Islands. Follow what's marked on the map. They were also heading towards the illegal zone. Whether the celestial dragons are coming or not, just go and take a look and you will know. Chambord Islands, lawless zone. Auction, Qingyun and others also came here. This place, basically, anyone can come in, but if you don't have identity and strength, you may be eaten by people from the auction house without leaving any bones after entering. Went to the auction house today. It will become one of the items in the auction house for auction tomorrow. This is not a rumor. But the owner of a store that sold maps of the Shampoo Islands saw them looking well-dressed and reminded them to be careful, especially not to go to illegal areas, otherwise something could easily happen. This boss is also a chatterbox. He chatted with the other party for a few words, and the other party talked about a lot of things like he was pouring beans. But these words are all kind reminders. Those who can open a shop in the Chambord Islands have heard and seen more as time goes by. They already know what is going on in the Chambord Islands. For example, when they first arrived, when the guard at the auction house saw the appearance of Nami and others, he immediately became interested and tried to trick Qingyun away with lies, and then took action against Nami and others. The other party most likely wanted to capture Nami and others, treating them as slaves for auction. After all, female slaves with good looks and good figures are really expensive in their auction house. But, this group of people obviously regarded Qingyun as a fool. So, Qingyun took out a few knives and gave them to them, placing them on their hearts. When it's time to die, only then did they realize they had messed with the wrong person. But, it's such an act of provocation. The people at the population auction turned out to be indifferent and just let them walk directly into the population auction. It seems, their situation should have happened many times at the population auction. Otherwise, how could some people at the population auction remain indifferent after seeing such a provocation? After all, there are too many people in the world that they cannot afford to offend. Some of my employees want to die, they couldn't stop it either. But, they can restrain themselves from causing trouble for each other and themselves. After entering this population auction, Qingyun also saw the rows of seats. 2/3 of the seats were filled with people. Certainly, most of them probably just came here for an away game. If they came across something that really excited their hearts, they might also buy it. Only, this place goes to the highest bidder. If you want to get something you like, you have to see if you have the financial resources. However, that's not what Qingyun paid attention to. His eyes swept through the group of people, and finally, his eyes fell on the front row. It seems we are in luck. Qingyun smiled, because he saw 3 people sitting in the front row wearing round transparent resin bubbles on their heads. This is because the Tianlong people feel that they are superior to others, so they have to combine the air they breathe with. Ordinary people are separated. Therefore, when you see a round glass-like resin bubble on your head, there is no doubt that this is a celestial dragon. In such an era, no one dares to pretend to be a celestial dragon. The price of pretending to be a celestial dragon, no one can afford it. Qingyun, are you really ready to attack the Tianlong people? The serious crime of killing a celestial dragon may directly trigger the demon-slaying order. Robin also said aloud, for her, the demon-slaying order can be said to be the shadow of her childhood. Similarly, This shadow has always affected her today. Thinking of the demon-slaying order, she thought of her hometown of Austria. The way Hala was destroyed, because of the demon-slaying order, she lost everything and carried a bounty on her back, and has been on the run to this day. Don't worry, the demon-slaying order is actually not as scary as you think. It just looks scary in the eyes of ordinary people. To the strong, the demon-slaying order is just a joke. Qingyun said comfortingly. At the same time, his tone also showed disdain for the demon-slaying order. There are only 10 warships. For a strong man, he will be afraid of you. There are about 1,000 naval soldiers on a warship, a total of 10 a warship, a demon-slaying order composed of tens of thousands of people. So what if the navy soldiers are elites? At the level of the emperor, it is no longer something that can be killed by too many ants. Instead, it requires at least a large number of generals. Only with powerful people such as Lieutenant General and Major General using human sea tactics can it be possible to heap an emperor-level powerhouse to death. Can't the 4 emperors defeat 2 generals? What a joke! After reaching this level of strength, he is very aware of his own strength. At what level? There is definitely a huge gap between the emperor level and the general level. If the emperor level cannot defeat the 2 generals joining forces, then the strength of this emperor level should be at the level of the first emperor level, and, his opponents, the strength of the 2 generals, must at least reach the peak of generals, which can be said to be at the quasi-emperor level. Otherwise, any strong person who has gone far among the emperor level, even if it is when 2 top generals join forces, they can definitely draw with each other, or even overwhelm each other. It can only be said that during the war, Whitebeard is too old. When he was young, he experienced countless wars, plus considering his identity as a pirate, he had access to professional medical equipment. The hidden injuries were not detected at the time, and even if they were discovered at a later stage, it would be difficult to treat them. As for the hidden injuries caused by the shock of the earthquake fruit, Qingyun thinks that this should have nothing to do with the Xinjiang fruit. To read Baoshuang novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. If the Xinjiang fruit will hurt itself when used, then there are also explosive fruits, and rusty fruits. Not all devil fruits such as the fruit and the hot fruit will hurt you. Whitebeard's strength is weakening. It can only be for one reason. The other party is old. After all, the other party is over 70 years old, and he is not a giant. In addition, compared to strong men like Warring States and Garp, he lacks good enough medical equipment in the early stage to ensure that his body does not leave any hidden injuries. In the later stage, the hidden injuries are revealed, even if there is no shortage of medical equipment. But it's too late, we can only treat a little bit. Therefore, the strength has weakened to this day. However, this also shows that during the war on the top, Whitebeard's brief return to his glory can indeed make him regain his youth for a short time. The combat power at that time, but it was only at that moment. Most of the combat power was only shown at the stage of first entering the Emperor level. At this moment, population auction, something appeared, causing everyone present to exclaim. Qingyun also lowered his gaze. One look, he was also stunned for a moment. Devil fruit. The population auction actually took out a devil fruit for auction. This made Qingyun silent for a moment. Are devil fruits being auctioned off at a population auction? Why does it feel similar to the situation where there are 5 of the 4 heavenly kings? How should he describe this? As a population auction, it is very reasonable to auction a devil fruit. Alright, Qingyun just couldn't react. But, he expressed 100% approval for the auction of devil fruits at the population auction, because now you are auctioning them, but after I take action, the devil fruits should be mine. Excuse me, who told you this is an illegal business? I am just punishing you on behalf of justice and confiscating the stolen money. How? You have an opinion. Below, after some bidding, the price of this animal-type fox fruit was raised to more than 300 million belly, and it hasn't even stopped yet. After all, devil fruits have a price but no market, so when devil fruits are really put up for auction sometimes, the price may even be several times higher than what is on the market. But billion Baileys. The fat-headed and big-eared celestial dragon, that is, the saint of Charlos who was punched hard by Luffy. I don't know if I should call it a coincidence or fate. This is what Qingyun and the others encountered this time. For a family of 3, St. Charles also made a direct offer. After he opened his mouth, everyone also shut up, after all, bidding with the Tianlong people. This is undoubtedly an act of seeking death. You can't offend the other party, and you don't even dare to move. Touch the other party, but the other party can kill you directly regardless of the law. Even if you kill, no one will make the decision for you, therefore, no one will like to commit suicide. Then, at this moment, the animal fox fruit was also killed by St. Charles got it. Not long after, the population auction brought out another devil fruit. This surprised Qingyun. Good guy, this population auction is very powerful, I can get 2 devil fruits. It would be strange if there wasn't a lot of energy behind the auction. Billion Baileys. After the auctioneer on the stage just introduced that this devil fruit is a fruit with superhuman attributes, St. Charles directly raised the bid. Without exception, this fruit with superhuman attributes fell into the auction again. In the hands of the Tianlong people, then, on the stage of the population auction, new auction items were brought up. As a result, another devil fruit was brought up. Seeing this, Qingyun finally understood. This population auction purposely puts devil fruits out for auction at this time. After all, if there are no celestial dragons, even if the place is full, the price of devil fruits can at most be raised to a maximum of 500 million Baileys, and the celestial dragons are here. The situation is different. This group of fat-headed and big-eared people don't care about money at all. As soon as they open their mouths, it's 1 billion Baileys. For the population auction, it's a huge profit. 1 billion Baileys. Sure enough, as soon as the fat-headed and big-eared St. Charles raised his bid, it was 1 billion Baileys. The auctioneer on the stage had a smile on his face. He also announced that St. Charles would take the bid. I got this superhuman energy fruit. I'm so lucky today. Qingyun sighed with emotion. The appearance of 3 devil fruits. At this moment, these 3 devil fruits are already his possessions in his heart. Of course, he is also looking forward to whether this population auction will be held. The 4th devil fruit appears for auction. However, taking out these 3 devil fruits for auction seems to have wiped out the foundation of the population auction. The next auction items will be the normal population auction routine in the past. It's time to take action. Seeing this, Qingyun was not in the mood to watch the ugly behavior of this group of people during the auction. After he said something, he took the lead and walked down the stairs. This should be given to the world is a little shocked. Thank you Xxko. For your monthly ticket support. Thank you very much. See you in Chapter 86. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, before Qingyun could say a few words, St. Charles, who was among the Tianlongs in the first row, saw the women next to Qingyun, and his eyes lit up. I want you to be my 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th wife. He looked like he was mentally retarded, pointing at Nami, Robin, Yuta, and Weiwei, and said, hearing this. Does anyone really like to seek death? Qingyun's eyes narrowed slightly. Although he already knew that these Tianlong people are basically a group of mentally retarded children, the other party's character really made him very unhappy. However, the other party had already been involved in his death long ago. Among the list, ring. Qingyun's figure instantly appeared in front of several Tianlong people. The few bodyguards around them didn't have time to react. Then, bang. Qingyun kicked. He trampled the opponent's hood to pieces, stepped on the opponent's face, and stepped heavily on the ground. He only heard a bang, and the ground cracked like a spider web. At the same time, the opponent's head also cracked with this sound. Was smashed and blood was poured out directly. Ah! St. Charles, who was stepped on by Qingyun, also screamed. His hands and feet were struggling wildly and his body was moving. For the pampered Tianlong people, when had they ever suffered such an injury? This was the first time. That's right, he couldn't bear the pain at all, but his head was stepped on by Qingyun, so he could only struggle on the ground, and this sudden scene shocked everyone present. The next moment, the whole place was in an uproar. September 13th Tianlong people. He actually beat up a celestial dragon. It's over. It's over. The Tianlong people were beaten, and the admiral immediately had an opportunity. Madman, simply a madman. Run, run quickly. Everyone in the population auction turned pale after seeing the miserable sight of the Tianlong people being trampled under the feet of Qingyun. Some of them were nobles, some were pirates, and some were from the population. Auction staff, but without exception, seeing the Tianlong people being beaten, they were frightened. For a while, everyone rushed towards the door in panic. Run! This is the only thought in their minds, no one wants to stay and bear the wrath of the celestial dragons. You damn pariah! Kill him! Kill him for me. The father of Saint Charos, Saint Roswaiter, saw this scene and his anger arose. The other party's behavior was a provocation to the Tianlong people. This also made him loudly order the bodyguards beside them to confront Qingyun. Take action, however, the second round of flowers blooms and masters. Before the bodyguards can take action, two hands appeared on their shoulders respectively, grabbing their heads one after another, twisting them hard, and there was a click. Her neck had already died under Robin's tricks. Now that she had decided to side with Qingyun, how could she not take practical actions to prove herself? What's more, hadn't they already become companions? You, damn untouchables, how dare you attack the celestial dragons? Roswade was extremely angry. He also made a mentally retarded move, took out his pistol, pointed it at Qingyun and started shooting. However, the domineering aura of his weapon hardened. The opponent's bullets all hit Qingyun. But bullets hit Qingyun, who was already using his weapon color, and it can be said that it had no effect at all. Then, bang! Qingyun kicked out. Roswaiter Saint also kicked Qingyun. Then, he was kicked out. With a bang, a bunch of things were smashed, and he looked very embarrassed. Don't you know how to calm down? I hate people like you who have no self-awareness. Qingyun shook his head in disappointment and said, the other party's slightly stupid brain really proves that it is no wonder that the other party gave birth to a mentally retarded person like Charles Saint. The emotional intelligence of the other party also makes people want to laugh, using a pistol to hit a strong man. Is it really the same idiot as Danzo next door used kunai thorn susanu? Then, he also turned his gaze to the man standing next to him, but he was already frightened. There must be some shivering Shalolia Palace. After the other party saw the fate of his father and brother, obviously, the other party still had some brains. He realized that the murderous man in front of him didn't care about the identity of the so-called Tianlong. He is a completely desperate guy, especially, her father was kicked out, and her brother was stepped on the ground by Qingyun, and he is still wailing in pain. She does not want to be with her father. The fate of her brother was the same, so, she acted a little honest, but she was more afraid of Qingyun. It seems that there is still a person with brains. Qingyun expressed satisfaction with the other party's gesture. Then, now, let me give you a chance. You so-called Tianlong people should have phone bugs with you. I am a kinder person, so I allow you to take out your phone and make a call for help. Correct. Qingyun glanced at Saint Charos, who was wailing in pain after being stepped on the ground. Then, he raised his feet, his arm domineering force hardening and entangling him, and then he fell heavily. Bang! Saint Charos's wailing stopped. After doing so, Qingyun turned his head to look at Shalolia Palace again. It seems that some of the attacks on the celestial dragons did not attract enough attention, so that's fine. Let's just say that the big pirate Qingyun killed a celestial dragon. Move quickly, otherwise you will be the next one to die. He also said with a smile. However, something about him was so scary in the eyes of Shalolia Palace. In an understatement, he simply crushed her brother's head and killed her brother, although, the number of slaves they Tianlong people killed was countless, but when it was their turn to suffer such an end, she was really frightened. There was also a pool of water stains on the ground. I was frightened to death by Qingyun's ferocity. I fight. She was so frightened that she quickly took out the phone from her body. A call was made directly to the world government. To be precise, it should be the dedicated operator in the Holy Land. Between the celestial dragons and the humans there are calls or orders and the like. There are dedicated operators at the Holy Land. After the connection. Lord Shalolia Palace, what do you have to tell me? That the operator said very respectfully, but this is also a normal reaction. After all, not many people can talk without caring about the identity of the other party after receiving a call from the Tianlong people. There are a few, but they are undoubtedly strong. Either that, the person who answered the call bug is also a celestial dragon, otherwise, not many people have the courage to do so. Help, save, help. Shalulia Palace said tremblingly, her words were a little stumbling, it can be seen that she was really frightened by Qingyun. Sir Shalulia Palace, did your subordinate fill in the wrong form? Did you just say help me? That the operator at the Holy Land had a look of confusion on his face. If his ears heard correctly, what Shalulia Palace said just now seemed to be the word help. However, it was unavoidable for Tianlong to shout help. Some are so ridiculous. The great pirate Qingyun, I and my father and brother met the great pirate Qingyun here at the population auction of the Shampoo Islands. He wounded my father and killed my brother. I order you to send people to rescue immediately my father and this palace. At first, Shalulia Palace's words were still a little stumbling, but she seemed to realize that the person she was communicating with now was just an operator from the Holy Land, not the murderous person in front of her, so she began to gradually recover her Tianlong self. Attitude, people's personalities and habits are the hardest to change. To read Baoshuang novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Even so, the other party was frightened by what Qingyun did just now, but that was only temporary. Panicked, she now realized that the other party was just a pariah, so her Tianlong mentality immediately appeared again. Of course, Qingyun didn't care at all about the other party's behavior. In his eyes, before coming, the other party was already a superior. He was on the death list. The operator of the Holy Land also realized that something was wrong. Immediately, he notified the upper level of the news. In an instant, the Holy Land exploded because of this incident. This was not a Tianlong being beaten, it was a Tianlong. The person was killed immediately. The matter was serious. Wulaoxing also sent this news to them as soon as possible. 0. They look gloomy. He was originally a bounty hunter, but after killing a CP9, we put a reward on his head. So by killing the celestial dragon, was he retaliating for the reward he was put on? Satan Saint said, how long does it take for a world government to operate to investigate a person? The answer is, about 5 minutes. The information related to Qingyun was directly sent to the table of Wulaoxing, after reading this after recording the information in 1 or 2 pieces of paper. Wulaoxing was also furious. He was just a small figure from the East China Sea, and he dared to take action against the Tianlong people. It was simply unbelievable, especially after reading the information, they looking at Qingyun's behavior of directly killing the Tianlong people, with their IQs who have stayed in this position for so many years, how can they not see that the other party is dissatisfied with the fact that they are being rewarded, so they are dissatisfied with the world government launched a retaliatory action. And the other party's retaliatory action was to directly attack the Tianlong people. This was even more furious for the 5 old stars. Let the Navy send a general to rescue the living Roswald Saint and Shalulia Palace immediately. Maz Xing said. According to the past information of this kid, the probability of being rescued is very low. The other party kills people directly by killing them. At this time, the 2 people who are still alive may have been killed by this kid. There was no need for Wucheli to continue speaking, but everyone present understood it clearly. Live. Probably no more. If the other party does it absolutely, these Tianlong people will be dead. Then let the Navy send out the general and launch the demon-slaying order at the same time. This kind of villain who dares to kill the Tianlong people must not be allowed to live in the world. Nazho Langxing said firmly, the celestial dragon was killed. This is already very important news, enough to set off a huge explosion in the whole world. However, if the murderer who killed the celestial dragon is still alive and well, if so, that is a more serious matter. Therefore, his only thought now is that he must kill the murderer of the Tianlong people and not let him leave alive. That's it, the admiral will be dispatched first, and then let the demon-slaying order bomb. He must not let the fish slip through the net. He should block this matter as much as possible and don't let the news spread. Even if it can't be blocked, it must be blocked. The message should be kept within a certain range as much as possible. Saint Pit also agreed with the demon-slaying order. The death of several Tianlong people is very serious, but what is even more serious is the leakage and spread of this news, so, in order to ensure that this kind of thing is blocked as much as possible within a certain range, the 4.4 demon slaughter order was used to clean the ground. This was the basic operation. The opinions of the 5 old stars were soon unanimous, so, this order was issued immediately. When it arrived at the Navy, Marshal Warring States received it. He was also angry after the order, but this time, it was Wulaoxing and others who had a strong attitude and asked him to send out the demon-slaying order. Even if he objected, it was useless. After all, the world government was the superior of the naval organization. Regarding the attack on the Tianlong people things, he was also very helpless. When he saw the person who attacked the Tianlong people, he felt even more fucked up. Isn't this the young man he was optimistic about at the beginning? Damn it. Some time ago, he knew that the other person was a bounty hunter. He became a pirate and secretly lamented that it was a pity that he had lost a good young man, but it had only been a few days. This young man directly caused such a big thing. Then, he also issued an order, let Kizaru go to Shampoo first. On the Earth Island side, if possible, the culprit Qingyun should be caught first. In this case, the demon-slaying order may be prevented from happening. Here, Kizaru was exhausted physically and mentally after receiving the order. At this time, I should be getting off work to eat a bowl of miso ramen, but I have to work overtime, which is really annoying. Kizaru's wretched face was almost filled with disgust for this overtime behavior. However, an order is an order. Who said this is the duty of a general? He had to drag himself to work overtime unwillingly. I have no choice but to go to work overtime. Thank you for your monthly ticket support. Thank you very much. Chapter 87. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chambord Islands. After the other party finishes the call, Qingyun also casually killed the father of Saint Charos, Saint Roswader, and his sister, Saint Carolia. His purpose had been achieved, so there was no use in keeping these 2 people. To death, Shalolia Palace did not expect that she would obediently do as the other party said. Why did the other party still want to kill her? It's just that what he doesn't know is, Qingyun's purpose. The original purpose was to kill the celestial dragons and bring a big one to the world government, so how could he be merciful? Let the other person go. This is bullshit. When these celestial dragons kill slaves, they are much more cheerful than him, and they also fall out of favor faster than he does. Pity the other person. It would be better to pity the slaves who died at the hands of these Tianlong people and those who were robbed. At this moment, Nami also came over. In her hand she held a box containing 3 devil fruits, this thing that should have been auctioned by the Tianlong people. Now, he can say that he successfully obtained it without paying a Pele animal-type fox fruit. Superhuman energy fruit. Superhuman attribute fruit. Of course it is impossible to say that these 3 devil fruits are special. As for how to develop it, of course Qingyun was not interested either. At least, he had no interest in investing much research into the devil fruit, which was only at the legendary level. At least, it had to be upgraded to the epic level, and if he wanted to be upgraded to the epic level, it had to be synthesized. And his golden finger, the result of the synthesis is really weird. So, the result of this synthesis is completely random, so why should he worry about developing the abilities of these devil fruits? After all, after synthesis, it will become another devil fruit. I'll put it away first, and then I'll try to see if I can get a devil fruit suitable for you. Qingyun also said this to Nami after he collected all 3 devil fruits into his portable space. The latter naturally said that he had no objection. Qingyun is on the ship, now there is basically no hiding. Regarding his ability, Nami, Weiwei, and others basically know what Qingyun's real ability is: synthesis. Synthesize 2 things into one thing. The quality of the synthesized thing will be relatively higher. However, this is not particularly important. Because, they will keep this kind of thing a secret for Qingyun and will not tell this news. As for Perona, this little girl has no qualifications to object at all. If the other party does something that displeases him, he can consider killing Moria. With this weakness, Perona can be said to be pinched to death by him. Then, Qingyun also set his sights on the auctioneer. The other party was obviously he was beaten, so now he is lying on the ground. This is why he did not run away. Who is the boss behind you? Qingyun came over and asked. After hearing this, the auctioneer also lay down and said nothing. Others don't know, but if he betrays the boss, he will definitely die. If you don't want to say it, then go die. Qingyun said. He raised his foot, and his arm domineering force hardened and entangled him, ready to crush this guy to death. Seeing this scene, the auctioneer also panicked. Damn. He forgot, this guy in front of him is also what a ruthless person. Compared to the boss, it seems that the one in front of him is even more ruthless. 3 Tianlong people were killed by each other, how can they not be ruthless? No one dares to do this in the world. In his memory, Qingyun is the only one. Wait, I said. The auctioneer who pretended to be deaf also shouted quickly. He was afraid that Qingyun didn't want to talk nonsense with him and would just trample him to death. Tell me, if you lie to me, then you may have to change your way of death. Dying late seems to be a good choice. Qingyun threatened the other party. These words also made the auctioneer feel numb. Ling Qi. He had heard of it. That kind of death method would be as satisfying as just giving him a knife. I swear to God, I will tell the truth. The auctioneer quickly refused and swore. Explain. Qingyun looked at each other and said. It's Tenyasha, Don Quixote, and Doflamingo of the Shichibukai. The auctioneer betrayed his boss without hesitation. It would be better to die now than to be chased by his boss, and his words made Qingyun's face change slightly. Good guy, I don't even know what to say. Did he collide with the king's Shichibukai? This is the 3rd king's Shichibukai he has met. Crocodile was killed by him, Moonlight Moria was killed by him after a beating, he also robbed Perona, whom he had worked so hard to raise, and the other party hated him, and now, he has robbed Doflamingo of his property. This, if there is another one, then more than half of the people in the Kibuhai under the king will be offended by him. Now, give you a chance to live. Inform Tenyaksha and tell him what's going on here, and tell him better that I robbed him of the devil fruit in his population auction. In addition, I will go to his country when I have time. Don't forget it. Let him prepare drinks and food to welcome me. Otherwise, I will be very angry. Qingyun looked at the auctioneer and said. These words also made the auctioneer not know what to say. Contact Doflamingo now. Isn't this going to kill him? But, looking at Qingyun, a ruthless man, he can only gritting his teeth. He got the phone bug and dialed. The other end quickly answered the phone. The phone bug also quickly imitated Doflamingo's talking face on the other end. Then, the auctioneer, according to Qingyun's instructions, he reported everything here to Doflamingo. Especially what Qingyun told him. He did not dare to miss a single sentence and told Doflamingo everything. Fu. Doflamingo on the other end of the phone also let out his unique laugh. Kill the celestial dragons. The big pirate Qingyun, right? I think you can hear me too. You are a very interesting person. If you kill the celestial dragon, the world government will definitely take action next. As long as you have the ability to survive the hands of the general and the pursuit of the navy, then I will be in Dressrow. A feast is waiting for you here in the kingdom of Sa. Brother Ming on the other end of the phone also laughed and said, although, he wanted to restore his identity as a celestial dragon and gain privileges, but his goal has not been achieved over the years, which also made him very annoyed. For those group of celestial dragons, people are also very dissatisfied. Therefore, after hearing Qingyun's behavior of killing Tianlongren, there was no anger in his heart, but a very happy feeling. If it was just a feast, it would be a bit shabby. Doflamingo, I like devil fruits, so remember to prepare a few devil fruits for my arrival. Qingyun also took the phone from the phone bug and said with a smile. If you can successfully survive the pursuit of the world government, I will be here in the kingdom of Dressrosa, ready to welcome you. Doflamingo said with a laugh, but is it possible for the other party to survive? Although he cannot restore the identity of the celestial dragon, but for a sinner who killed the celestial dragon, a few old guys from the world government cannot. They will let each other go. At least they will send out a general, in order to completely eliminate arrogant sinners like Qingyun. It is very possible for CP0 or even the Knights of God to dispatch. Therefore, in his heart, Qingyun has already been labeled as certain to die by him. How can we talk about welcome? What he just said was just polite words. Then just wait. After Qingyun said something. To read Baoshuang novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. He also hung up the phone directly. On the side, the auctioneer looked trembling, a little scared. Go away, I mean what I say. Qingyun glanced at the other person and said, after getting Qingyun's guarantee, the auctioneer also rolled away and ran away from the population auction. Qingyun, I have taken all the photos. Yuta came over with a camera in her hand. She already had several photos in her hand, a disposable imaging camera. As long as you press the shutter, the photos will be spit out quickly. Qingyun took the photo in the other person's hand, and it was of the Tianlong people. He was very satisfied with the photos taken by Yuta. Since he had killed the celestial dragons, why didn't he make it bigger? Send the photos of the celestial dragons after their death to Morgan of the World Economic News. See, with that guy's character, even if he knew it would offend the world government, he would still choose to publish this piece of news. After all, this is a guy who wants news even if he lives. He wants to make a big news all day long. He the photo in his hand. This news is definitely big enough. However, of course he will not give this information to the other party for free. The other party is the president of the World Economic News Agency. As far as the other party's income from selling newspapers, the other party's wealth is definitely not less. So, this doesn't allow him to blackmail the other party. But this is something that can only be decided after the matter here is resolved. But now, is the Navy coming? Qingyun's domineering attitude has already sensed the Navy surrounding him from outside. Robin, this is for you. Qingyun also took out an epic body crystal, an epic soul crystal, and an epic talent crystal from the portable space and gave them to Robin. The opponent basically used his own fruit ability to fight, so there was no need to give them to Robin. The other party's physical skills or kendo ability crystals. It would be a waste to give them, it would be better to use them on himself when the time comes. As long as Robin's body, soul, and talent are upgraded to the Emperor level, the opponent will be almost the same, and he can be regarded as an Emperor-level powerhouse. This time, the number of Emperor-level experts in their team has reached 5. This is a reward, Captain. Robin also kissed her face to face, but that was it. Robin, you are too stingy. Qingyun said disappointedly, 3 epic-level ability crystals in exchange for a kiss? This is too stingy. Hearing this, Robin just smiled and did not continue to entangle on this topic. Then she opened her mouth and ate the ability crystal given to her by Qingyun. After a few moments of entrance, her body, soul and talent were also improving rapidly. On the side, a single dog who had been single for more than 20 years was also attracted by Robin. The behavior made her feel a little full. Well, she was a little full after eating the dog food. Soon after, Robin's improvement was also over. Feeling her own improvement, she realized how good this improvement effect was. 900 she is now, she can easily defeat her before she improves. Let's go, there's a navy waiting for us outside. Qingyun also said something and walked out. Nami and others also followed. As for fear, it's impossible. It's reasonable for people without strength to be afraid, but people with strength will be afraid of a group of people. Is it just an ant-like existence in the past? Impossible. Among their team, only Perona's heart is extremely complicated. After being abducted on the ship, that's all. Working as a maid, doing laundry and cooking, to cleaning, she also tolerated it. However, you group of people directly beat the Tianlong people, and even directly killed the Tianlong people. It was a bit too much. After seeing Qingyun's behavior of killing the Tianlong people, it can be said that her sky collapsed immediately. She was dead. These 3 words immediately appeared in her mind. Therefore, the behavior of going out now, in her opinion, it was just like going to the execution ground for execution. 2 different things. Outside the population auction, after receiving the order, the Navy immediately assembled a team of manpower and surrounded the place in circles. It is said, the ruthless man who killed the Tianlong people is still inside. They didn't dare to break in at will, so they just surrounded each other and tried to delay the time until the general arrived smoothly. But, come out. Someone came out of the population auction. It's Qingyun. The big pirate Qingyun walked out of it. He is the sinner who killed the Tianlong people. After a navy noticed Qingyun and others walking out of the population auction, they immediately shouted excitedly. Every one of them present was extremely nervous. This is the ruthless person who killed the Tianlong people. How many such cruel people can there be in the world? At least, in their life trajectories, Qingyun is still the first. Therefore, Qingyun added this layer of aura that killed the Tianlong people and put it on, immediately in their eyes. It just becomes very oppressive. Qingyun, who came out, glanced at the navy around him and then withdrew his gaze. It seems the admiral hasn't arrived yet. In that case, let's wait. Qingyun said with some disappointment. Then, surrounded by a group of navy, he also took out a few chairs and a few glasses of juice. He, including Nami and others, except Perona, all of them they all just sat down and drank juice. They didn't take this group of Marines seriously at all. This made the navy breathe a sigh of relief, but at the same time, he felt aggrieved. Thank you for your monthly support for the book. Thank you very much. Chapter 88. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qingyun et al. Sitting on a chair, drinking drinks, chatting, laughing a few times from time to time, chatting happily, only Perona standing behind them looked grim, and every move they made fell into the surrounding navy. This made the navy feel very aggrieved. Colonel Barlow, are we really not going to take action? The other party simply doesn't take us seriously. It's really frustrating to just watch and not take action. The young naval soldier also said to his superiors regarding their actions this time. Lieutenant General Matt is not around now. Do you think we can deal with such a big sinner? I have already sent someone to notify Major General Matt. Major General Matt should be here soon after receiving the news. Colonel Barlow said, the Navy's G-series naval branches are basically located in the New World, and what they have here is just a naval garrison base. However, even if it is a garrison base in the Chambord Islands, there is a rear admiral stationed here. It was only when the Tianlong people were killed, this rear admiral was dealing with other pirate crimes in the Shampoo Islands, so he couldn't rush over immediately. Especially, the other party's phone was not even brought with them. Therefore, if they wanted to notify the other party, they could only ask the Navy soldiers to go there in person. Hateful, that the naval soldier could only grit his teeth angrily and endure it, although he seemed to be denying it. He also believed in his heart that it was impossible to defeat the opponent just by relying on himself. After all, this is still the Great Line. People who can reach the Chambord Islands directly attack the Tianlong people and kill them. How can the opponent's strength be weak? The main reason for his dissatisfaction is because Qingyun and others despised what they did, and some of them actually made him angry. As for the death of the Tianlong people, they just felt very shocked. After all, killing the Tianlong people meant breaking the sky. As for why are scum like the Tianlong people going to charge? That is naturally impossible. Everyone present knows one thing very well at this time, the person who killed the Tianlong people is definitely a big sinner, but the same, if such a person can be if a big sinner wins, the credit will be enough for them to move their position upwards. Because of this, they want to take action against Qingyun, for no other reason than to consider their own future. However, the reality is also cruel. There are so many people here, but in the final analysis, no one dares to take action. Taking action means starting a war. Can they really beat each other? This is still a big question. So, under such a stalemate, Major General Matt finally arrived. On the way here, he already understood the whole story, so he rushed over quickly, because he knew that the consequences of the death of the Tianlong people meant what? If we don't capture Qingyun now, then if the time is delayed, it is very likely that the Shampoo Islands will be flattened by the demon-slaying order. Are they the culprits who attacked the Tianlong people? Major General Matt asked after taking a look at Qingyun and others. This group of people, no matter how he looked at it, he felt that the other party looked like a pretty boy, plus a few rich women who were feeding him, said that such a group of people killed Tianlong man. He was still slightly doubtful. Major General Matt was the man who made the move. He was a big pirate with a bounty of 180 million belly. You should never judge someone by their appearance alone. Colonel Barlow quickly reminded. I know. Major General Matt also responded, armed domineering energy covered his fists, and he rushed towards Qingyun in the field. In the blink of an eye, the opponent rushed in front of Qingyun and punched him. Dang! Qingyun raised his hand, which was also hardened with armed domineering energy, and blocked the punch of Major General Matt, making a clashing sound of gold and iron horses. Just wait there obediently until the future comes. Isn't it a good idea to let the future take action? That he glanced at Major General Matt calmly and said. The trouble you have caused is too great. It is too late to wait for the arrival of the general. Now, I, Major General Matt, will personally capture you and send you to the Impel Down City. Major General Matt said. Caught by you. You overestimate yourself. If the three generals arrive together, there is still some hope, but you, a Major General, want to catch me? Dashu, who are you looking down on? Qingyun clenched his fist with his right hand, and the overlord-colored domineering energy was directly wrapped around his arm and concentrated on his fist. The entangling and hardening of the armed-colored domineering energy were also used at the same time. He stood up. This time the fist was suddenly thrown towards the opponent. Bang! It hit the opponent's chest directly. With a pop, the opponent's chest was directly broken by Qingyun's attack, and blood spattered out. Boom! Major General Matt was knocked to the ground directly by Qingyun's punch. This was called an instant kill. Likewise, it also shocked everyone around him. The Major General attacked. The Major General was instantly killed. The ups and downs of life. Lololoyo, it was too fast. This made the surrounding navy unable to react. In other words, it was too late to react. Shoot, shoot. Colonel Barlow was stunned for a moment when he saw this, and then he shouted quickly. He didn't expect that Major General Matt would be killed like this, but, even so, he couldn't let the other party continue to fight against him. Rear Admiral Matt launched an attack. Otherwise, Rear Admiral Matt would have fallen into the hands of the opponent, but... Boom! When this group of naval soldiers were about to pull the trigger and shoot at Qingyun, Qingyun's overlord look showed no signs of domineering. What remains is the explosion, this royal-level overlord-color domineering explosion. At the scene, many Marines fell to the ground in a coma. Even Colonel Barlow was no exception. He could not withstand the impact of this overlord-color domineering force, of course, not just enemies, but also their own people. Qingyun, don't forget that there is a person here who is not very good at it. Robin also reached out to support Perona, who was about to fall down due to the impact of Qingyun's domineering aura, and helped her sit down on a chair. No. Qingyun said without looking back. He looked at Major General Matt in front of him. The opponent had been seriously injured under his punch. If he did not continue to attack the opponent now, the opponent would still have a lot of potential. Possibility of coming down, but it can only be blamed on our different stances. To read Baoshuang novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Thinking like this, Qingyun's heart also became firm. Now, this is his position, not to kill the navy. Stop joking, the other party may be a good person, stand on the side of justice. However, the so-called right and wrong in the world are never justice and evil. It is often the collision between one's own position and the position of others, so it is necessary to decide the outcome, or even to fight to the death. Now that he is like that, if he were still a bounty hunter, there will never be any so-called conflict between his position and the other party, but now he has been labeled a big pirate by the world government, and a bounty has been placed on his head. There is a bounty of up to 180 million Baileys, no doubt about it. This changed his position as a bounty hunter and turned him into a pirate. Until now, he directly killed the Tianlong people in revenge. Based on the order of the leader, the navy was justified in arresting him or killing him. But this doesn't mean he would just sit back and wait for death, letting the other party kill him instead of catching him. So, he needs to fight back, and the result of this counterattack is boom! His fist dropped. This time, Major General Matt also lost his life under his punch, killed the opponent. Qingyun did not continue to attack the surrounding navy who had passed out. After all, although his positions were different, he really didn't want to kill indiscriminately unless the other party was a pure evil person like a pirate. As the saying goes, you can kill bad guys with peace of mind. But when the target is a good person, or a person who is neither good nor bad, this will more or less make people hesitate. From this point of view, I am somewhat hypocritical. Qingyun also laughed at himself in his heart, although, he was laughing at himself, but he also admitted that he had never been a purely good person. Of course, he was not a pure good person, he could only be regarded as a relatively good person. A selfish person, after all, no matter what happens, he will first consider his own interests, but he doesn't want to think too much about this issue, because it doesn't make much sense. He can be said to know best what kind of person he is, not to mention that he has no need to hide himself. After all, he has been acting like this from beginning to end. They continue to wait here, since the Chambord Islands the Navy has already appeared here, so, this group of Navy should report his location to the superiors, then the Navy headquarters, after receiving his exact location, send someone over. They should definitely be able to find him. It's impossible to send a road idiot here, impossible. Absolutely impossible. None of the three generals is a road idiot, but here at the Shampoo Islands, Kizaru, who came comfortably riding a cannonball, is already a road idiot. Arriving at the Shampoo Islands, however, he forgot to ask the specific location of the criminal. This also made him not sure where to go. Since he is a celestial dragon, he must be in a lawless zone. It's really scary that young people these days actually killed the celestial dragons directly. He said this in his mouth, then, he himself also headed towards the illegal zone of the Chambord Islands, so, he spent a lot of time. Finally he found the right place. Even the Major General was killed by you. He is truly a great pirate, he is really very vicious. Kizaru walked slowly. When he saw a dead rear admiral in the sunken pit next to Qingyun, his figure also paused, and the look in his eyes under his sunglasses also happened. Subtle changes. Kizaru, one of the three great generals. Seeing a great general like you arrest me makes my legs weak. Qingyun glanced at the other party's wretched face and the clothes he was wearing, and could easily recognize the other party. After all, the other party's wretched face was already quite conspicuous. Recognize. Not coming out, that's somewhat nonsense. Yo. Now that you know me, it seems much easier to handle. How about you give up your resistance and go back with me? This way I don't have to do anything. Huang Yuan also looked at Qingyun and the others and said. Forget it. If you take me to Impel Down City, I would rather go there myself and see what kind of place Impel Down City is. Qingyun smiled and said. That's not possible. If you don't go back with me, I'm afraid I won't be able to do my job. Since you are unwilling, I have no choice but to be rude. Kizaru said. It also turned into a flash of light, and appeared in front of Qingyun at the speed of light in an instant. He raised his foot and prepared to give Qingyun a blow, but when his foot was about to fall, clang. Weiwei but directly entering the battle Greymon form, the shield of courage behind her instantly flew between Qingyun and Kizaru's lightspeed kick also landed on the shield of courage. Moment. The power of this light speed kick that landed on the shield of courage instantly caused a huge storm. But, there was no damage to the shield of courage, or, unscathed. Kizaru's attack was easily blocked by Weiwei's shield of courage. Let me be your opponent. I also want to see what the so-called general's strength is. Weiwei's eyes looked at Kizaru, full of fighting spirit. Until now, she still doesn't know how strong she is. Therefore, she needs an opponent to test the range of her strength, and the one in front of her, Kizaru, one of the three generals of the Navy, could just let her test how strong she is by using him against him. Thank you Junjun for your monthly support. Thank you very much. As of this chapter, the author has finished the last month. The debt has been paid off. Yes, counting from the first of this month to today, the author still owes all you pretty boys and girls 45 chapters. The author's whole body is about to burst. The author should work hard to pay it back. Chapter 89. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He blocked my light speed kick so easily. Young people today are so scary, Kizaru also said with emotion in his unhurried tone, but with this tone, how many people can believe that what the other party said is the truth? Maybe, it's just a joke. At the same time, he was also thinking, what is the ability displayed by Weiwei? He has never seen such a devil fruit ability user. She may be of the animal type, but Wei Wei does not have the characteristics of the animal type, but to say that she is a Superman, this cannot be a set of armor fruits. For a moment, Kizaru really couldn't guess what Wei Wei's devil fruit ability was, but his thinking did not let Wei Wei was merciful. Wei Wei waved the dragon beast nemesis in her hand, and the armed color domineering was also covered and entangled with it. Wei Wei, who had general-level armed color domineering, was enough to do this easily. One claw swing it away. The next moment, Kizaru's body turned into a flash of light. His knowledge color haki immediately noticed the opponent's dragon beast nemesis, hardening and entangling the weapon color haki. He is good at the natural system, however. If a user with natural devil fruit ability is attacked by a powerful armed color haki, it is still possible to break the defense. Especially the stronger the opponent's armed color haki, the higher the probability of being breached. So, when he caught the opponent's attack with the power of knowledge, he took the lead in letting himself enter the elemental form. He took the opportunity to avoid the opponent's attack. With such strong armed color and domineering attitude, how come today's young people are as strong as monsters? It's really scary. After Kizaru turned into a flash of light, he dodged the opponent's attack. He also appeared on the other side. At the same time, he did not forget to say these words. "Admiral, can you only dodge?" Wei Wei is a little dissatisfied. Ever since she took this devil fruit crystal in the form of dragon fruit phantom beast fighting Greymon, she feels that her usual desire to fight is really high. When she was on the ship, he often pulled Qingyun into a fight. This will not only alleviate her desire to fight, but also steadily improve her strength, although the magnitude is very small. 583 however, with her current strength, even if it is only an improvement it's a little smaller, but that's a lot. But there are some things that can't be used here. Kizaru said slowly. However, even though he said this, his speed was not slow at all. The next moment, he turned into a flash of light and appeared in front of Wei Wei, raising his long legs. Light speed kick. This is just Kizaru's flat A strike. Let's change the battlefield. Kizaru said, kick the opponent away and change the battlefield, so that the Navy who was stunned by the Overlord's domineering energy and fell unconscious will not be hurt by the aftermath when he fights the opponent. However, this does not mean, Wei Wei did not make any move to fight back. The shield of courage blocked her side at a very fast speed, and Kizaru's attack also fell. Boom. A huge explosion sounded. The opponent's attack it worked a little, but it was only a little bit. In short, there was no injury in the smoke. Wei Wei stood there, and the shield of courage once again blocked the opponent's lightspeed kick. There was still no scratch on the surface of the shield of courage. It's as if Kizaru's attack didn't land on the shield of courage at all. Your attacks are ineffective against me, Wei Wei said. Since you feel that this place is not suitable as a battlefield and makes it difficult for you to perform, then we will change the battlefield and follow up. She also knew the reason why the opponent was restrained in the fight. Immediately, she proposed to change the battlefield. The shield of courage returned to her back. She also flew directly into the sky. Seeing this, Kizaru also hesitated. After a moment, he glanced at Qingyun, and it seemed that his target was the man who killed the Tianlong people in front of him. Now, this woman with slightly terrifying combat power was far away. Isn't this the best time to take action against this man? He hesitated, because the combat power shown by Wei Wei just now had shocked him a little. Even if it was just a short confrontation, he could say with certainty that the other party at least had the strength of a general, and a person with the strength of a general. The woman turned out to be this man's companion. If the other party was relying on his handsome face that he was so envious of, he felt that it was unlikely. Therefore, the other party must have outstanding talents. This outstanding place, it is probably due to the strength of the opponent, general strength? Or peak general strength? Even if he does not have the strength of general, lieutenant general, or major general, he cannot guarantee that he can make it within one move. Take the opponent down directly. If he seizes this seemingly good opportunity to attack Qingyun, then the woman may directly attack the group of unconscious naval soldiers on the ground, although he usually likes to fish. But he would not let his naval soldiers die like this, so, he turned into a flash of light and headed in the direction of Wei Wei. Since the other party is willing to change the battlefield, then he will change the battlefield, and then try his best to defeat the opponent, and then deal with this unprecedented sinner. After they left, Qingyun and others, except for a certain Perona who was already unconscious. Their faces were always very calm. A smart man's decision. Qingyun also said this. How could he not understand the other party's thoughts? It's just that after hesitation, the other party chose to give up this seemingly good opportunity and turn around to fight Wei Wei. This was undoubtedly a wise choice. I can only say that Kizaru's choice was the right one after careful consideration. At this time, Qingyun also put down the juice he had finished drinking. The Navy probably just sent this general over and left it to Wei Wei to deal with. Although Kizaru is a natural type shining fruit ability user, with Wei Wei's strength, it may be difficult to take down the opponent, but if you fight on the opponent's side, there's nothing wrong with that. The Navy's demon-slaying order should have also been activated. It would be a pity if the Shampoo Islands were destroyed under the demon-slaying order. Let's go and see this so-called demon-slaying order together. Qingyun also said with a smile. After speaking, he also stood up and walked towards several areas along the coast. Seeing this, Nami, Yuta and Robin also stood up one after another, following Qingyun. Later, as for the unconscious Perona, she was naturally held by Robin. Fortunately, Robin's body had already been upgraded to the royal level in this improvement. So it was just a piece of cake to pick up Perona. Above, Wei Wei and Kizaru also started fighting. Lightspeed kick. Even though Kizaru tried to seize the opportunity to attack Wei Wei. But, he is not the only one who knows how to be domineering. To read Baoshuang novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Wei Wei also has the domineering power of knowledge and color. Even if the opponent's attack speed is fast, her domineering power of knowledge and color has already caught the opponent's attack trajectory. Therefore, in Huang before the ape's light speed kick was about to land, her shield of courage was already standing in front of her. He easily blocked this attack for her. Bei, you blocked all my attacks easily. It's really scary. Kizaru said slowly. Tyrannosaurus flame. The steel mask on Wei Wei's mouth opened directly as she opened her mouth. Then, she also launched a fireball attack towards Kizaru. Seeing this, Kizaru quickly dodged. Soon, the battle between them also fell from the air to a certain location in several illegal zones within the Shambord Islands. For Kizaru in the air, he can definitely perform it. It's limited. Even if the opponent easily blocked his lightspeed kick with the shield of courage, even if he attacked the opponent several times, it would still be the same. Qingyun sword. Kizaru also condensed a lightsaber. He started to fight with the opponent in close combat. Wei Wei stood up. Not to be outdone, the dragon beast nemesis in her hand was also hardened and entwined with armed domineering energy, and she started to clash with Kizaru again and again. It's a pity that Kizaru is a shining fruit ability user. Otherwise, with her the specific effect of the dragon beast nemesis, the effect of increasing the damage of the dragon, and the power of each move can be said to be a critical hit. Every move is a critical hit. However, Kizaru's fruit ability is not a dragon. If it were Kaido. Wei with the strength of a new emperor, if she goes against Kaido, a veteran emperor, she might be able to fight back and forth, especially since her attack must be a special attack to deal with the opponent. Maybe, you can also leave a few unforgettable scars on the other person's body. Yo! You actually have such strength. Why did your captain do such an earth-shattering thing? Kizaru asked while fighting. He felt that the power of each blow of the other party could be said to be higher than his. This also made him secretly frightened. This meant that the physical strength of the other party must be stronger than his. Much stronger. That's why the other party is so strong, but he follows a captain like Qingyun to kill the Tianlong people. This really makes him a little unpredictable. Could it be that young people these days are so free-thinking? Before going to sea, why not just kill a few Tianlong people to sacrifice to heaven? My strength was all given to me by Qingyun, and what he did made sense. General Kizaru, stop talking nonsense. You haven't used all your strength since just now. I advise you to be more serious. Wei Wei also said. Really, even if you have to work overtime, it is really a headache to face such a powerful opponent. Kizaru also said distressedly. This time, he was forced to work overtime. Otherwise, he would have left work long ago and was going to eat a few bowls of miso ramen. However, Weiwei opposite him had no intention of letting go. Holy tornado. Weiwei also rotated her body at a high speed to form a tornado and launched a piercing attack on Kizaru. However, Kizaru's power of knowledge and domineering had already caught the opponent's attack, and he immediately took the lead in letting himself enter the element. In the transformed state, it turned into a flash of light. Therefore, even though Weiwei's attack was very powerful, even hardening and entangling the armed hockey, it was still dodged by Kizaru, and her attack was a direct hit passing through a mangrove tree. Seeing this, Kizaru also turned into photons, flew into the air, crossed his hands, 8-foot Magatama. Countless light bullets fell directly, one after another, they fell in the direction of Weiwei. Go, the attacks continued, lasting for a long time before stopping, and with such accuracy, he would say that when he fought in the war, it was because of insufficient accuracy that he only penetrated Kizaru's frozen sea, and Straw Hat Luffy escaped without hitting Law's submarine. This horse-riding man must not give him too big ears. You can tell at a glance that you are acting as an ape, in the face of war. If you say that you are not acting, you will not believe it, however. After the attack stopped, the dust and smoke dissipated, a shield stood there, without a trace of scars on the surface, and behind the shield was where Weiwei stood. Under the protection of the shield of courage, Huang, the accuracy of Ape's 8-foot Magatama is high, but they all hit the shield of courage. It's a pity, although the attacks were good, they were all blocked by the shield of courage. It's my turn next, Weiwei also said seriously. The shield of courage flew back to her back. The next moment, she flew directly into the sky. She raised her hands high, and the energy in the atmosphere was concentrated on one point. In the blink of an eye, a huge energy bomb is directly condensed. It is hundreds of meters large. Just by looking at it with the naked eye, you can clearly know that the power of this move is definitely not small. Are you kidding? Damn it, the strength of young people nowadays is really terrifying. Kizaru, who had just landed, saw the opponent's attack, and his eyes widened under his sunglasses. His hockey sensed the huge danger from the opponent's attack. However, before he could say anything, up in the sky, Weiwei held up a huge energy bomb and threw it directly towards Kizaru's position. The power of Gaia. The huge energy bomb fell with a crash, boom. A burst of energy erupted on the Shampoo Islands. The unprecedented big explosion, this sound, shocked the entire Shampoo Islands. Everyone saw a huge mushroom cloud rising over the Shampoo Islands. Thank you for your monthly ticket support. Thank you very much. Chapter 90. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qingyun and others have just arrived at the coast. Only then did he see the Navy warships approaching slowly not far away. Robin, who had already seen the demon-slaying order once, looked a little uncomfortable. It seems that the painful memories in my mind have resurfaced. Sure enough, when it comes to the celestial dragons, the world government chooses to launch the demon-slaying order. Qingyun glanced at the naval warships that were gradually approaching in the distance, and said, however, it is just a demon-slaying order. For a strong man like him, if he needs to be afraid of the demon-slaying order, then there are some. It's too funny. The demon-slaying order is at most used to clear out the soldiers. When you encounter a real strong man, it is of no use at all. Instead, it sends people to the top one by one. At least Eagle Yen said that it would not be a problem for him to sink a warship with one sword. If there is a lieutenant general on board to resist, then it would be 2 swords. There really can't be any more, otherwise, it will damage him, the world's greatest swordsman. And when Qingyun was sighing here, suddenly, a deafening explosion loudly sounded. The land under their feet also shook violently at the same time as the explosion sounded. This also made him looking back. They saw the rising mushroom cloud. After seeing the mushroom cloud, there was no need to guess, he already knew what the situation was. A battle between Weiwei and Kizaru. I hope the Shampoo Islands can hold on, and don't get destroyed in the battle between Weiwei and Kizaru before the demon-slaying order is launched. Qingyun also sighed with emotion. The Shampoo Islands are quite big, but in the end, they are all mangroves that make up the Shampoo Islands. It doesn't matter if 1 or 2 are broken here, but if they are broken, if dozens of mangroves are broken, that would be a big deal. Because the Chambord Islands are only composed of 79 mangroves, if dozens of mangroves are broken, that means that the land area of the Chambord Islands is, it simply shrunk by about half. However, if left unchecked, the battle between Weiwei and Kizaru would not stop and continue, giving them enough time to continuously display their tricks, not to mention losing half of the land. I'm afraid it's possible that the Shampoo Islands didn't just disappear. I had no choice but to end the battle here as soon as possible, and then go over to help Weiwei deal with Kizaru. Qingyun also secretly thought in his heart, but he sat still and let Weiwei take action to fight Huang Yuan, which undoubtedly stopped Huang Yuan in front of him. This demon-slaying order was also going to be solved by him. He had already made up his mind about the demon-slaying order, although, the demon-slaying order was triggered by the fact that he killed the Tianlong people. But it is undeniable that he is the culprit, but equally, he was also extremely greedy for the benefits brought by this demon-slaying order. Once the demon-slaying order was launched, 10 warships were dispatched. On each warship, there were almost 1,000 soldiers, and 5 vice-admirals accompanied the dispatch. At the beginning, during O'Hara's operation, Akainu and Akainu were lieutenant generals at that time. So they were there. Now, Kizaru is obviously forced to work overtime. Oja and Akainu, I don't know if Sengoku will specifically calling the two of them over. In other words, does the Warring States period feel that just relying on a general and the activation of the demon-slaying order is enough to defeat him? If the other party feels so, then there will be no second place in the 8 achievements. A general has arrived. If the other party feels that he cannot be solved, it may be on the warships one after another, maybe a certain general is also on them. However, he feels that it is unlikely that a second general will appear. After all, the strength he displayed in front of the world government, as far as they knew, was probably at the general level. The other party would never have imagined that his strength had actually reached the emperor level. Even the people beside him, Nami and others, also all have emperor level strength, but at this time. Don't kill me. The unconscious Perona seemed to be awakened by the huge explosion. As soon as she woke up, she shouted with a look of horror on her face. She didn't know what kind of terrible nightmare she had. Kill, 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 kill you. Do you want me to kill Mariah to celebrate your birthday? Now that he's awake, get up from Robin's body. Qingyun glanced at Perona and said. The latter also looked around in confusion. Then, she also fell into memories. Soon she remembered the previous things. Then, she realized that she had passed out. Thinking of the mental shock she received before she fell into coma, she had already experienced it once. No, it should be N. She also realized that it was entirely the Overlord's domineering energy displayed by Qingyun that made her fall into coma. This is also it made her teeth itch with hatred. Damn the big devil. When she was on the other side's ship, when Weiwei Hao Qingyun was fighting, she suffered a lot of impact from the Overlord's domineering aura. Fortunately, she got used to it, but unexpectedly, this time Qingyun's domineering impact was so terrifying, she couldn't even resist it for a second. She immediately passed out. Snort. You nasty devil. Perona said angrily to Qingyun. At the same time, she also used her ability to float up again. Thank you for the compliment. Qingyun smiled and said, he didn't care at all about the nickname the other party gave him. At least, the title Demon King seemed to be pretty good. On the other side, as Weiwei's power of Gaia fell and exploded, a long time passed. This dust and smoke has dispersed a lot, and in this place, under the power of Weiwei's Gaia, the 2 mangroves have been completely flattened. It should be said that it is composed of 2 mangroves and tree roots. The land has also completely disappeared with the power of Gaia. Now, all that can be seen is the sea. Who knows how much it will take for the mangroves to grow back and reform the land. Time, on the other mangrove land. Kizaru's figure also appeared there. He now looks slightly embarrassed. The sunglasses he is wearing on his face have been broken and many of them are missing. As for him, the general's cloak looked torn a lot, and the same was true for the clothes he was wearing. Today's young people are really scary. I'd better retire early, otherwise I will die in the hands of monsters like you sooner or later. Kizaru looked at Weiwei, who was rushing towards him again, and said with the same emotion, these words, what he said were sincere. It's not like he was blind to Weiwei's young appearance. Less than, he judged that the other party's age was around 20 years old at most, and if a young man in his 20s could have such strength, if he didn't retire, he might one day die directly among these people with comparable strength. In the hands of a young man who is better than a monster, the Tyrannosaurus sword. Kizaru condensed the Tyrannosaurus sword. and collided with Weiwei's dragon beast nemesis again and again. Now, he really didn't dare to be careless at all. The other party's strength, in terms of strength, no, it should be said that the opponent's physique is far superior to his, and this superb physical skill beat him back step by step. Therefore, read Baoshuang novels, just go to Faloo Novel Network. Based on his many years of experience analysis, the opponent's physique and physical skills have already reached the level of the emperor. For him, what he is facing now is a man who has the strength to step into. He has reached the level of an emperor, especially since the other party has 70% guessed that this is an unknown devil fruit of the animal type. The opponent's strength has been greatly improved. He is numb now. Had he not used his knowledge and domineering power to sense the opponent's damage in advance and enter the elemental state before it fell on him, otherwise, he would have been seriously injured by the opponent's extremely sharp metal claws. After all, the opponent's armed color hockey has been hardened and entangled. It has already entered the general level of armed color hockey. If it is hit, the probability of breaking the defense is very high. The power of Gaia. Weiwei condensed another energy bomb about 5 meters in size and threw it at Kizaru. For her, this move can be performed as long as she consumes physical strength. Likewise, she can also control Gaia's the size of the force exerted. The power of Gaia about 5 meters in size. To her, it can be said to be instantaneous. So, Kizaru kept dodging. Zero asked for flowers while Weiwei chased after her. When the opponent launches an attack, once the opponent is unwilling to engage in melee combat and instead opens a distance and uses the 8-foot Magatama towards her, or uses a laser or other skill, she will use the Shield of Courage to block it. Then, the opponent threw out several Gaia powers. This Gaia power seemed to be free of charge, and Kizaru, who was chased and beaten by Weiwei, could be said to be miserable. He never expected that he would be like this. He was forced to work overtime once, and he had to face such a situation. If he had known earlier, he would definitely shirk the overtime work again and again. He would directly push this hard work to Akainu. Therefore, the battle between the two, from time to time, there are explosions one after another. The people of the Shampoo Islands evacuated into the distance early when the first explosion occurred. This place cannot be stayed at all. If you stay here any longer, you will be finished sooner or later. Fortunately, the battle between Weiwei and Kizaru took place in the illegal zone of the Chambord Islands. Otherwise, many residents who had settled in the Chambord Islands would probably have to evacuate, and the fighting was fierce on their side, but facing she couldn't tell the winner against Kizaru's natural shining fruit ability, which was difficult to deal with in a short time. Therefore, the other side, Qingyun also watched the demon-slaying order getting closer and closer, until it gets close to a certain distance. The warship also stopped. On board, the warship's cannons were also aimed at the Chambord Islands. It seems like the attack is about to begin. It seems that they will never get closer. Qingyun also saw that the other party was preparing to start bombarding the Shampoo Islands. At this distance, it should not be close anymore. If he had used the moon step to get there at the beginning, he might have wasted a lot of energy, and now, it is he who takes action. It was a good time. Draw the sword. With a wave, a huge sword energy rushed directly towards the nearest naval warship. On the warship, Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, who was preparing for the bombardment, saw this sudden burst from the Chambord Islands. Coming out, with the huge sword energy coming towards them, his pupils shrank, and he quickly used Shao and rushed to the front of the warship, flying in the air with moon steps. He drew out his weapon, armed with two effects, hardening and entangling domineering force. At the same time, he applied blessings to the weapons. Facing the attack coming towards them, he blocked it with all his strength. As soon as the attacks touched each other, his face also looked very ugly. The Supreme Swordsman. The one who made this move was a Supreme Swordsman. The sword energy released by the swordsman. Moreover, the opponent did not add domineering energy to this sword energy, otherwise, he would probably be knocked away by this sword energy in an instant. Rise! The flying squirrel gritted his teeth and tried his best to deflect the attack upward. Finally, under his control, this huge sword energy also deviated from the trajectory under his influence. Then, the flying squirrel also used Uebu return to the warship. At this moment, his heart felt a little heavy. This was the sword energy wielded by the Supreme Swordsman, and it was also saying one thing. The capital of the Shampoo Islands, there is a Supreme Swordsman here. if they start to implement the demon-slaying order, then it is very likely that this supreme swordsman will be attracted to take action. Of course, there is another possibility. This supreme swordsman is afraid the Navy did not want to offend the Navy, so he left alone. However, the probability of the latter was simply not too small. After all, a supreme swordsman also has his own arrogance, sure. Even though he was blocked, the vice admiral still has some strength. Qingyun saw the people on the warship briefly blocking his attack, causing the sword energy he released to deviate from its original trajectory and fly into the sky. This also made him praise the other party. Then, I would like to see how you block the next strike. He said this, the third generation of Ghost Tetsu, the two powers of Overlord Color and Domineering Energy and Ghost Energy are intertwined together. When the two powers are condensed to the peak, one knife flows to Xia. Qingyun swings out a knife, and the huge sword energy, which was more powerful than before, flew towards the warship. Thank you for the monthly ticket support of 15,089. Thank you very much. Pretty boy, your nickname is a space, so I can only use this to thank you. Shao. Chapter 91. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The flying squirrel, which had just blocked this slash, had only just returned to the warship, not even 30 seconds. Result, over there in the Shampoo Islands, another sword energy flew towards his warship at great speed. See this sword energy, he felt like shit in his heart. What happened to the supreme swordsman on the Shampoo Islands? Are you deliberately trying to make things difficult for him? Grass. He quickly armed himself with the hardening and entangling effects of hockey attached to his weapons, and hurriedly faced the attack. But, when his weapon came into contact with this sword energy, only then did he realize that he had been impulsive. This attack, it is simply not comparable to the previous sword energy. If the previous sword energy was a casual strike from the opponent, and this attack was an attack that the opponent had deliberately accumulated for a long time, and also added special power and the power of the Overlord Color Domineering Energy, this was also the time when he had not yet come into contact with the sword energy, and there was still some distance between them. Mentally, it's like being treated by a bully. The impact of anger. If he hadn't been a lieutenant general, I'm afraid that if I hadn't already been under this power, I would have passed out directly. Overlord Color and Domineering Entanglement. Only at this moment did the flying squirrel understand the power of the opponent's attack. As a veteran lieutenant general of the Navy headquarters, he had heard about the power exerted by the strong men on this sea. More importantly, from what his teacher Zifo once told them, Overlord Color and Domineering Entanglement. There is no one who can perform this move whose strength is lower than the Emperor level, that is to say, now, in this Shampoo Islands 837, this one is not only a supreme swordsman, but also possesses the domineering power of an emperor, and can control and use it at will. TMD. If I had known the process of this demon-slaying order, it was such a difficult start, he definitely had to ask for leave to skip the demon-slaying order this time. It was so stupid. Everyone in the world knew how terrifying the demon-slaying order was, but what they didn't know was that the demon-slaying order also it's useful to the weak, but useless to the strong. Boom. This time, he could only resist the sword energy for 2 seconds, then, he couldn't block the sword either. The sword energy struck, the sword energy fell on the warship. The next moment, the warship was split into two directly under this sword energy. These sections were extremely smooth, and the flying squirrel himself was also responsible for resisting this sword energy. An attack, and was directly knocked into the sea. He was at the end. He attached the armed domineering energy to his body to resist most of the damage, but even so, there was still a big wave on his body. The scar, the blood flowing from his wound, also dyed the sea water around him red. Armed hockey is powerful, however, it does not mean that armed hockey can withstand all attacks in the world. Faced with Qingyun's ghostly aura coupled with the power of the slash entangled with the Overlord's domineering aura, was able to withstand this move and not die. It really means that the flying squirrel's own strength is strong enough. Of course, there are other big reasons. Because this is just a sword energy displayed by Qingyun, although the sword energy is strong, it is still not as high as the damage caused by the real collision between the swords. Flying Squirrel. Hua Shaoshan and others on the other warships were also extremely surprised. Originally, they saw countless blocking, and then deflected the second slash, which solved the problem of this slash. Therefore, subconsciously I thought that the flying squirrel could solve the second slashing attack. But something unexpected happened, but before they could go over to help, on the Chambord Islands, several more slashing attacks flew directly towards the flying squirrel. Fall in the direction of the mouse. Not good. After Huashao Shan and other lieutenants saw this attack, they immediately realized that something was wrong, and quickly used the moon step to rush towards the giant sword energy. If this was not blocked, the naval soldier who fell into the water because the warship was cut open, I am afraid that he will not die directly from this slash, for lieutenant generals including Huashao Shan, Stolberg, Ghost Spider, and Doberman quickly took action, and one person blocked the sword energy, but Qingyun took action this time. How come he only swung out 4 sword chi? He immediately swung out 7 sword chi. Therefore, even if they each blocked 1 sword chi, there were still 3 sword chi falling towards the fallen navy. Ah! The screams of the navy sounded, but they soon stopped. The sea was also dyed with a bright red color under Qingyun's slash. Thousands of navy, directly in this sword energy a large number of people died. Several lieutenant generals also held back this breath and struggled to block the sword energy they blocked. After all, Qingyun sent out several sword energy slashes this time, pursuing quantity, not for power. So the power is much weaker than the first sword energy. This is why, the reason why they can block Qingyun's slash. Shampoo Islands, shore. Robin, just stand here and don't move. I'll buy an orange and I'll be back. After saying that, he headed towards the Navy warship with the demon-slaying order. After hearing this, Robin was a little confused. Fortunately, this joke is in another world, which does not exist in this world at all. Otherwise, if Robin knew the meaning of his words, he would probably not fight with him. However, Qingyun just waved a few sword energy on the shore and solved a warship of the Demon Slayer order, and even killed several Navy officers. She would not be able to cope with it. Seeing this with her own eyes also reduced her fear of the demon-slaying order a lot. Even Lian Qing, the whole person, also had an inexplicable color in her eyes. The lieutenant general, who had just dealt with the sword attacks one after another, was furious when he saw the loss of a ship of men. Followed, they saw the Chambord Islands. There was a figure coming towards them. At this time, still need to guess the identity of the other party? Of course not, because at this time, there are still people coming towards them. 80%, it was the person who attacked them just now. Suddenly, their anger just bubbled up. The other party is the enemy. This is an undoubted fact. Hateful. This guy is ready to attack the warship again. Huashao Shan saw the direction in which Qingyun was rushing, and immediately understood what Qingyun's purpose was, to destroy the Navy warship. The launch of the demon-slaying order required the artillery on the Navy warship to carry out a covering bombing to clear the target. However, if all the warships were destroyed, the demon-slaying order would not be activated. Immediately, a group of lieutenants rushed towards Qingyun. They wanted to prevent the other party from destroying the warships, but it was too late. Qingyun's sword was swung out. The warship didn't even have a chance to fire its guns and aim. It was directly cut open and divided into 2. Then, Qingyun also swung several sword energy towards the cut warship. In an instant, thousands of naval forces, the soldiers suffered heavy casualties. Then, the same was true for the next ship. It was not until Qingyun attacked the third warship that the vice admiral finally rushed over. They only regretted that their speed was too slow, which also allowed Qingyun to catch up in a short time. Within, 2 more warships were directly destroyed and a large number of naval soldiers were killed. The 8 blades were armed and slashed randomly. Ghost Spider was the first to rush forward, and his life was restored enough to control his hair, causing it to as flexible as his arms. When he strikes out, it is a unique skill of the 8-sword style. This is not comparable to Octopus Hachi's 6-sword style, which is said to be stronger the more swords it has. Every sword is aimed at Qingyun. Various body positions. If you don't defend against such an attack, you may not be killed by the opponent with one move. However, the one-sword style ghost energy is clear. This sword is also covered with the power of armed domineering. Compared with a simple, the ghost energy was much more powerful. His figure missed the opponent very quickly. Under Qingyun's attack, the ghost spider's weapon was directly broken into pieces, and his body was also struck by Qingyun's knife. He fell down and split into 2. he died on the spot. With such injuries, the chance of rescue was gone. To read Baoshuang novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. Ghost Spider. When several colleagues of Ghost Spider who were killed by Qingyun saw this scene, their hearts trembled. Their colleagues, just like that, he was killed by the opponent. Even Qingyun simply killed their chance of rescue. If you have this opportunity to sympathize with your colleagues, why not first consider how to survive from my hands? Qingyun looked at them and said. Show mercy. This is impossible. He has already made up his mind, so it is impossible for him to show mercy to the other party. Therefore, as soon as he takes action, he directly kills the Ghost Spider. One strike will kill. His words made the three lieutenant generals angry. After the other party killed their colleagues, they were still so arrogant. Shave. They used Xiao together and attacked Qingyun. One by one, all tried to directly kill Qingyun with one blow. Three veteran lieutenant generals took action. Even the generals may not be able to achieve anything good when facing this kind of lineup. However, their opponent is Qingyun, one-sword style ghost energy frost. Qingyun's attack speed was far beyond their imagination. He took action in an instant. In the blink of an eye, Stahleberg fell directly like a ghost spider under his attack. After finishing the opponent, then, the next moment, a sword with ghostly aura. He turned the blade and aimed it at Doberman. A penetrating blow landed directly on the opponent at an extremely fast speed. The opponent's armed color was domineering. Before he even had time to protect his chest, Qingyun's attack had already fallen, and the penetrating sword energy directly penetrated his heart. Another lieutenant general fell. Ah! 3 colleagues died one after another in Qingyun's hands, and Lieutenant General Huashishan was also angry. He concentrated all his armed domineering energy on his attack and swung it towards the sword. This sword was absolutely powerful. However, Qingyun has already entangled his overlord color domineering energy around the third generation of Kitetsu, and slashed at the opponent. Even though it was not a kendo move he performed, but just an attack wrapped in overlord color domineering. Energy is not enough. Lieutenant General Huashishan can handle it. His attack has already caused a collision of haki before it even touches the blade of the opponent's katana. However, the opponent's armed haki is entangled by his overlord haki. Just resisted for a second, Qingyun's sword directly knocked the opponent hundreds of meters away, and fell directly into the sea. Qingyun did not continue to pursue. Instead, he attacked the naval warship, even though, the warship the Navy soldiers on board tried to attack him. However, Qingyun just slashed with one sword, and the warship was divided into two. With several quick sword strikes, the sword energy swept away the naval soldiers who fell into the sea. It was just that simple. A moment later, naval soldiers suffered a large number of casualties. The 4th ship. The 5th ship. The 6th ship. Up to the 10th warship was easily solved by him in a short period of time. As for the Navy, there were already heavy casualties. 4.1. This time the demon-slaying order, there was no chance to even start bombing. It was destroyed by Qingyun. At the same time, there were also 3 vice-admirals who fell directly into Qingyun's hands. As for the other 2, Qingyun did not pursue it carefully. Because, he has already seen the mushroom clouds rising from the Shampoo Islands due to the energy explosion. He saw this scene. Just think, if you don't stop it yourself, the battle between Weiwei and Kizaru may really completely destroy the Shamboard Islands. Can only say, Weiwei must have had a fight with Kizaru. The consequences must have been immediately forgotten. That's why he solved the problem of the demon-slaying order so quickly. Then, after he picked up the fallen ability crystal, he also quickly returned to the shore of the Shampoo Islands. I have solved the demon-slaying order. Weiwei may have gone crazy. You should pay attention to your own safety. When we meet, I will control the situation first. He also quickly said something to Nami and others, and then rushed towards the direction where Weiwei and Kizaru were fighting. In just a moment, the explosion sounded again, and 2 small mushroom clouds rose up. Damn it. If this doesn't stop Weiwei from demolishing her family, the Shampoo Islands will definitely be demolished by Weiwei. Thank you for your support with your monthly ticket. Thank you very much. Dear beauties, there are recent recharge activities, so if you have pretty boys and girls who have recharged, can you donate all the free flowers to this book? Please.